All right, folks, welcome to Nephew and Uncle Basketball Banter. Uncle Dave, while it's fresh off the grill, let's get into this game four that we just witnessed with the Pacers and the Knicks here. And
Yep.
well, I guess we'll just go through game three quickly. Obviously, that was kind of a heavyweight fight back and forth, and the Pacers in the fourth quarter just able to pull away. It's funny how both these series, the Pacers and Knicks and the Timberwolves and the Thunder. It's been like the yin and the yang. Every game in this Pacers Knicks series has been close, and every one on the Thunder and Timberwolves has been a blowout. The Knicks wind up coming back on the road for the third time this postseason to win a game in which they were down by 20. It's the first time that's
Right.
ever been done in postseason history in the NBA. So this Knicks bunch is kind of a very bizarre and unique one. Definitely a fan favorite though for quite some time, but I see why. It's just a bunch of guys that just play hard the whole time. I mean, you're down 2-0 in a series and you're down 20. I mean, when Halliburton has that dunk to put them up 20, I know it's the first half still, but it just felt like that was the end right there. But give the Knicks credit for coming back. Karl Anthony Towns had a huge game. Josh Hart came up with some big rebounds. Brunson really doesn't have his best game, but they're able to still pull this one out and win it. Landry Shamet had some good moments, and Tom Thibodeau, he went into his bench a little bit in this game, and people I think have been asking for that, and he finally I think caved to that and wound up I think paying dividends. I think his bench made some good plays for him. How you see this game three here?
Well, first things first. I mean, we're going to give Tibbs credit now because he keeps Brunson on the bench till 250 left in the game. Now, the rule is if you got one foul left, you put the guy back in with 5 minutes. Been coaching 35 years. That's the general rule. So obviously, it was more than just the foul situation. He wasn't feeling how good he was playing. He also wanted to give Deuce
We've
some
talked about it.
minutes.
Offensively, they're a little better, I think, as a whole.
Yeah, yeah.
When he
The ball
was,
moves better,
yeah,
and Deuce was playing well. So people the other day were bitching because yeah, how could you do that to Towns? Well, what do you mean how could you do that? This is what I'm talking about. Well, you're not allowed to coach anymore. The world is soft as dog shit. So people like in the media, like, well, how could you do that to your player? Like, wait a second, I'm the coach. I have to make a decision on who I think is going to go better at
yeah.
that time.
If he's
You-
not playing well, you don't play him then. Yeah, right.
Yeah, and and I wouldn't have kept Towns out 7 minutes either. But if a guy's going good, a guy's going good. So it's always like it just goes to show you, even the media is soft now. Like, oh, like this, like that's a fucking issue.
Hmm.
No, it's not an issue. I mean, it's not. You either fucking go with the guys you think are gonna win or not. But the big stat of this game is Indiana goes 5 for 25 from three. No one's talking about that. And they also forget that Indiana had two fast break points in the second half. They had 14 in the first half.
Right. That's what
Um,
TNT crew, Charles Barkley basically said it's a tale of two halves. And the Pacers in the second half, it was nowhere near how they played in the first half, the pace and the
yeah, and
style.
And I thought that McConnell did a bad job because when he's in there in the beginning of his minutes, at the end of the third, beginning of the fourth, he has two or three possessions where
He had a bad
they're
shot.
trying to
Yeah.
they're trying to make post feeds some like 10 feet extended from the top of the key. He had a couple of bad turnovers. Shepard had a couple of bad turnovers, and all of a sudden, both teams turned the ball over 14 and 15 times respectively. Conceded points off the fast break. Well, the Knicks gave up 22. Pacers only gave up 8, but the Knicks outscore them by 18 on the 3-point line. That's your game right there. I mean, both teams shoot basically the same from two, but for total for the game, but not from three. Knicks only shoot 35% from three, but the Pacers shoot 20, and that's the difference in the game. Both teams had 27 free throws. The officiating was god awful tonight. The officials did what I like to call momentum officiating, where first of all, Towns' dunk, kids outside the circle. That's a charge. No one even looks at that. But then there's a couple of fouls on Brunson, and Brunson's fifth foul is bullshit. Yeah, sure, the guy lands on him for like fart level contact. You can't allow assaults and then call fart in the wind contact. So the officiating I thought sucked tonight for both teams. Like you got to get a grip on this officiating because right now the players have no idea what a foul is. Call
Stan Van
Anthony
Gundy even said at
Towns,
the last possession where Halliburton, they're down four and he's trying to
yeah,
drive to the bucket here, and they call a foul. I think it was on Bridges, and it was barely brushed up against him. And Van Gundy's
sure,
saying, Sam Van Gundy's like, "What are we talking about with a foul here?" With some of the other
sure,
stuff that's been going on over the
sure.
course of
I
the
mean,
playoffs.
so Deuce gets you 9 points, but plays good defense. Josh Hart 10 rebounds off the bench. So now we got to give Tibbs some credit. So if they lost that game, people would be going crazy. But Tibbs rolled the dice.
It was a big
Josh Hart.
risk, I think, because honestly, if they wound up, let's say, losing the Knicks, people would have been bashing him, saying, "Hey, it's too late now to try something new." That would have been the narrative then. So he rolled the
Yeah,
dice.
but you have to have the balls and the conviction to do
Right,
it. So
exactly. Exactly.
Robinson scores as much as Hart in this series anyway. He gets six, Hart gets eight tonight. Robinson gets 6 boards, Hart gets 10 boards. I mean, so and Hart gets 4 assists. But if Hart's not going to attack whoever his matchup is, then what's the difference? Anunoby had two really big threes once they got down. When again, second best run of the series, Brunson on the bench. Again, we talked about this. The ball moves when he's not in the game. I know he's their best player, but it's dribble, dribble, dribble. James Harden it, except his are
Jeff,
fadeaways
Jeff
in the
Teague
lane.
said it on
James,
his show. He said that's basically what we've been saying. He's like, they look
yep,
better offensively. Guys are more confident. They look like they're sharper when he's on the bench. Now, obviously, you need him out there to win. There's no doubt. We're not saying if Jalen Brunson's not on the team that the Knicks are a better team. It just
right.
the flow of the game offensively as a unit in spurts, they look better with him on the bench. That's
Oh
something
yeah,
that I think you have to kind of put in his ear here. Like I said, we
so
talked about his game the other night.
yeah,
His usage rate is so high. This guy has to be getting 10 assists a game for me. I mean, look at even tonight. Tonight, what does he have? He only has one assist tonight. Come on.
yeah. So the big problem is again, we have to do the flip flops of the game. So if you tell me Bridges and Brunson each shoot 33%, there's no way the Knicks win, and here they are. They won the game. So, you got to say to yourself, well, you tell me the Pacers only hit 5 threes, they get blown out. So again, there's arguments to both sides here. The board battle's basically even. Uh, you know, I thought that Siakam doesn't get enough touches, and I'll tell you what, Nemhart 3 times down two had a chance on that possession to take a shot and passed it up all 3 times. Two of them not even good angle passes. So Nemhard looked death in the face, and Neesmith hurting his ankle could turn the whole series because if he doesn't
Well,
come
yeah,
back
that
healthy,
that's something to keep an eye on too. What is he like from game
because he
four
he
now?
goes out,
Yep.
they're up a comfortable 12 or 13 points, and the game changes. And he's a great defender, and he's a really good shooter, as we know. But again, so you got to really take a good look at this because that's the whole series. Kids, we talked about this. No playoff affected more by injury than the NBA. This guy brings you. He's a two-way player. That'd be like Klay Thompson getting hurt for the Warriors back in the day because you know what? He played defense and he played offense. It's like Iguodala. So you get a guy who does both ways. When they get hurt, you can't really replace that. I thought that Bradley played too many minutes tonight. Mathurin hardly gave you anything tonight.
Well,
Shepard was
Reggie
okay.
Miller has been talking about. Mathurin has just been a non-factor really in the
Yeah.
playoffs.
McConnell shot well, but again, a couple of bad turnovers. Bradley, I think playing too much. Obi, I didn't think played enough tonight.
Yeah,
Obi
he's
had
got to
some
play
good
more.
moments, and then
Bradley should not be playing as much as him.
in the last 10 minutes of the game, Obi doesn't really play. Doesn't even get a sniff when they're getting killed on the backboard. But again, Karl Anthony Towns 8 for 17, 15 rebounds, three threes. But again, Anunoby, a couple of really big baskets. He only gets 9 shots and scores 16 points, and that's what it's all about. But he doesn't get enough touches for me as far as like taking shots. And when Jalen goes off the floor, he gets two big threes there when they're down 20. All of a sudden, it's down 14. So he does a couple of big things there. But got to watch what happens to Neesmith. Obviously, he came back in. He had a brace on in his left ankle, so we got to see how that is. We'll see how he moves in 2 days. Tomorrow he's going to be hurting, but he's got another day to sit in the tub, hopefully, and get that back. But hey, they got to start. If we can get this thing to 2-2, you're going to have a real series. If it gets to 3-1, it's tough. But again, these teams disappoint me. The Pacers, I had a feeling they might have a tough time tonight, so they didn't really disappoint me as much as the Thunder, which we'll get to in a little bit. But yeah, so it's you let this game off the hook a little bit. Sometimes at home you come out, you're a little too hyped up, and I just can't believe that people are puzzled by the fact that Halliburton averages 7 more points on the road. He loves to be the villain.
Right.
This is not a hard thing to figure out, kids.
Yeah,
I mean,
sometimes
how
I
the
think
hell?
the home teams, I think they lean too much on the home crowd. They kind of are lifeless sometimes at times. You
Yeah, the home team in the last 2 rounds has an under 500
yeah.
record.
Yeah. I mean the Knicks right now are 6-1 on the road and 3-5 at home.
Yep, and the Pacers are, I think, 6-1 on the road and
Exactly.
maybe 3-3 at home
The
or
home
something
court
like that. It's
advantage. I
crazy.
mean, we're gonna get to the point here where we're saying it's overrated now at this point.
It is because what happens is these teams rely too much, and these guys love being the villains. And
Right.
Halliburton, he relishes being the villain. You got to tell you what, this guy, he's got the guts of a cat burglar, but at home he's probably too comfortable.
Right. Yeah,
So this is a real series, and now we have to wait till Tuesday night and see if we have a real series on our hands because game four is always the game in the series that tells you what you have. You either have a sweep, you have a 3-1, or you got a 2-2. So, that's the big game in the series. Every game is so crucial. But again, the Knicks had two guys shoot 6 for 18 and win the game. So you got to say to yourself, "Wow, that's amazing." But at the same time, the Pacers should have won, and they were winning them by a lot, and they only had 5 threes. So which one's going to happen again? Well, we got to see which one happens again. In each series, they've had different people step up, and that's what's puzzling about the Pacers tonight. So Pascal Siakam only gets 14 shots. Turner gets 12 shots. He gets 6 3-pointers. So that tells you that he's 5 or 6 inside the 3-point line, which is where he needs to live a little more. I think we're taking too many of those. And again, we want you to shoot them when you're hitting them, but when you're not, this is not LA Fitness. This is the NBA. You're getting paid a lot of money. You got to go inside. You got to make a tough basket. So
yeah.
he's 5 for 6 inside the arc and doesn't shoot him.
I think
Nemhard, like I said, 2 for 9 tonight. Didn't look for it. Nesmith 2 for 8.
the difference in this game is, like you said, Nemhard. I think him having kind of a game where he kind of cooled off. That really obviously they're not the same team with him not playing as well. And the Knicks, to their credit, they hit their foul shots tonight. The other two games they kind of were spotty on the free
Right.
throw line. This game they were a lot more
Yeah.
solid.
And
And
Robinson's contributions have been solid off now he's starting, but he keeps a lot of balls alive. I know he doesn't get a rebound for that. But if you watch him, he goes right over people. He keeps the ball alive. He's done a lot of good things out there. So, if New York fans are the most critical fans in the world, and I've said it before in here, I'll say it again. It's why it's hard to root for New York teams. The fans are just almost asshole-ish in a lot of ways. When their team is loses, they say they're the worst team ever, and when the team wins, they say they're the best team ever. And 99% of the time, the truth is in between.
yes,
But they just don't understand that, and so it's hard because I want to hear every New York Knicks fan for the last several days who's killing Tibbs. I want to see you. I want to hear you call up tomorrow and own up to it. Like I said, he's not my favorite coach. I think Carlisle's a better coach, but at the same time, if you're gonna if you're gonna throw the salt, I want him to get his bouquet of flowers tomorrow.
yeah, absolutely. Now he's a coach. I definitely, if you had the pool of all the coaches and you wound up with him, you'd be feeling pretty good about yourself. There's no.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I think there was a couple sequences that just were really incredible. Karl Anthony Towns, the one where TJ McConnell has the bad shot, he leads a break and he finds DeLon Wright for a layup. I thought that was a huge play by him.
Yeah.
The one where
Yep.
he kicks a three to cut it to a 1 point game with 8 minutes left. Then the one where he takes the ball from the top of the key and he dunks it on Nemhart. Like you said, it might have been a charge there because Nemhart, I think, he rotated
Yep.
over in time where he was outside of the restricted area, but
They didn't even look at it. It was weird.
they still called a block on that. And then another
Sure.
one where he takes the ball from the top of the key, left-hand drive, and finishes over Turner. I mean, he had some just really timely shots. I know he's been criticized throughout his career of a guy who's kind of wavered mentally and maybe has not been the
Yeah.
toughest guy, but I mean, he's been like I think you even mentioned it on one of our shows recently. He's played really tough and really good in this
Yeah.
playoffs. He's had even
Yep.
15 rebounds tonight on top of his 24 points. So
Yeah, this has been his best playoff in his life because he has had some really incredible soft moments, and even without the great ones, like James Harden's had good and bad. Karl Anthony Towns in playoff history, if you go back and look, I mean, just atrocious. But
yeah,
this playoff, he's had some good, and he's had some points. He does whine a little too much. His body language is bad when he doesn't get a call.
yeah, yeah.
But he has really stepped up in some circumstances here.
And just Josh Hart. The guy, he might be the biggest 6'4" guy, heart wise, no pun
Yeah,
intended. Just 10 rebounds. And he had that huge rebound where it's only a 2 point game and he grabs it and he knocks down two free throws. I tell
yeah,
you, we have our ultimate glue guy list probably later in the summer. He'd be a guy in strong consideration because he just
sure,
does all the dirty work, this guy. And
sure,
he's
absolutely.
definitely sacrificed a lot because I know he can give more than 8 points. I mean,
Oh
he's
yeah,
a guy who's just all about winning. Uh,
yeah. Well, he is. He
I
is
know
about winning.
yeah, his
You got to give
offensive.
him credit for that. He is totally about winning.
Yeah, I think with Bridges coming in there, that just meant less touches and shots for him. And McBride's been
Sure.
playing well recently as well, so that also factors into it. But yeah, this Knicks team, I tell you what, you have to give them credit for the mental resiliency right there. Could have been very easy to just take your foot off the gas pedal and mail this thing in, but
Yeah,
down 20 on the road, down 2-0, and they wind up coming back and winning this
yeah,
game. And Charles Barkley said it too after the game. He thinks this is a game where obviously you have to say this if you're on that side of the aisle. Indiana just kind of gave away this game. like you said, in order to have a comeback that big, the other team has to play along with you, and Indiana certainly did.
Yeah, they had a couple of bad turnovers about a 4 minute stretch there, and Halliburton didn't have the magic. I thought they waited a little too long to get him back in when that lead started to get away in the fourth quarter. I thought they waited a little bit too long. I know you coach your rotation, but got a chance to go up 3-0 and put your foot on somebody's neck. I like to see you do that. But it's gonna be Tuesday night's gonna be a blast.
Yeah, that boy, yeah, like you said, it's going to be very different, the feeling one way or the other. If you have 2-2
Sure.
versus 3-1,
Yeah. Yeah. 3-1's a big difference.
it almost the way what happened with Cleveland and Indiana last series being down, being up 2-0, and then Cleveland coming in and winning game three on the road. You knew the
Yeah,
Knicks.
they blew him out too.
Exactly. So you knew that the Pacers were definitely talking about that. So there wasn't any surprises or any getting being caught off guard. The Knicks just
Sure. Sure.
incredible, and to do it with Brunson, like I said, not having his best game offensively. If I would have
That's
said
his worst game.
Yeah, if I would have said Jalen Brunson scored 23 points, then I said there's no way they win,
He had
unless
one assist and shot 33%.
yeah, exactly. I would have said, what's the path for victory here? There is none at that point.
Right. So it just goes to show you that all the analytics people do is all bullshit because there's nobody who would have had that. Who has that parlay?
No, there's no way. There's no way.
No.
20, yeah, I would have said if anything under 30 for him, I would have said. Then would have, especially when you say, all right, Brunson gets 23 and Towns only gets 24. Now 24 is a good game, but if you're thinking Brunson doesn't have 35, then Towns has to give you at least close to 40. Like you said, the guy like Anunoby, that's an unsung hero on this team. He's just a guy. He's very much like Siakam for the Pacers. He just
Yep.
produces this guy efficiently. He's never a guy who you're going to see on the stat sheet that's 2 of 15 ever.
Sure.
He just seems to be Mr. Reliable for this group here.
Yeah. Yep.
And Bridges, not a great game, but played well enough though. I mean, he comes up with some big buckets for them too. So
And in game two, the Knicks lose because Pascal Siakam steps up. And this is the thing about this Pacer team. So Nesmith wins in game one. Pascal Siakam had a great night. I think he had 39. Very tough. Again, they took care of business. And again, Karl Anthony Towns sat 7 minutes in the fourth quarter, and that's what that game's about right there. But that was a good game too. So far we've had three good games in this series.
what definitely looking back on it, with this series, we're going to say game three was the game in the second half where just Indiana was just a totally different team as far as the pace of play was. And it was a grinded out half court slugfest, which is exactly the style the Knicks want to play compared to what Indiana is.
Sure.
Charles Barkley said it, as a half court team, they're not a great half court offensive team, the Pacers.
No, that's because they don't ever run a post up. Miles, like I said tonight, 5 for 6 from inside the
Like
arc,
it's so true.
one for six.
When you don't have a guy you could throw the ball into maybe and play off him, it's different. Like you said, Turner's not that kind of guy necessarily. He can sometimes get you a bucket like that, but he's not Embiid, he's not Jokic.
Right.
He's not
And
that kind of
Siakam doesn't like it, but Siakam's really good using the bank shot from the left wing, but they're not going to him enough. Whereas, the other night he got downhill a couple of times. He did
He's
everything
got
right.
great
So they got
footwork though, that guy. I tell you what, and he knows
they,
when to
they
use
got
the
to get
right
back to
shoulder.
him though. They
Yeah.
got to go to him more.
I think when they get in those half court sets, you have to throw the ball to Turner and to Siakam sometimes and just play off them or high pick and roll with Halliburton. Like you said, there's too many times
Sure.
late in the shot clock where they were scrambling and Turner's hoisting up a three. That
Yeah.
too many possessions like that for the Pacers. But
Yeah.
give the Knicks credit though, for sure. Obviously, like you said, the Pacers not being the same second half team, but you have to give the Knicks credit for that as well, though. It's like it takes two to tango in this game. So
Sure does.
we'll move on, Uncle Dave, to what we saw with the Thunder and the Timberwolves. And obviously, the Wolves proved that they could win and they could win handily against this Thunder team. So this might be a different series. We're going to be very eager to see what happens in this game four now, because if you're the Thunder, they should have your attention now.
Sure. In game two, we talked about maybe getting Randall to the elbow. They didn't do it in game two, but last night they sure did. They kept Randall at the elbow and they pounded him on the glass, and Rudy had a little bit more of an active effort. But last night, the Wolves, I mean, I just couldn't believe how many live ball turnovers OKC had in the first half. This
Yes.
game was almost over at the half. The OKC looked like they gave up with about 2 minutes left in the first quarter. Just live ball turnovers in the middle of the court for layups. I mean, I know Edwards is good, but he isn't that good. I mean, just sloppy turnovers. I mean, just really careless turnovers. I know they had 15 for the game, but it's the type of turnovers you have. A live ball turnover is a disgrace, especially with the athletes on Minnesota. So the thing is, in this game, though, Again, you get out rebounded 50 to 31 on the glass. And we talked about this. This is how Minnesota can hang with OKC. OKC, again, I love Hartenstein and I love Chet, but they weigh a buck 80 between the two of them. It's not a great physical team. If you could make this about physicality, and Naz Reid, who played a little better in game two, but really played well yesterday, if you could make this about physicality and Randall and Reid, and they can get things done. But if you're going to let this be a game of space in the floor and things of that nature, if you're the freaking Wolves, you got to punish them on that baseline. Last night, they got the ball to Randall at that elbow. He had an excellent game. The OKC shoots 40%. T-Wolves shoot 57% for the game,
Yeah, 50 from three.
which is totally crazy to have a team shoot 57% in a playoff basketball game. Again, the stats, I guess we got to kind of throw out, but the key things with the stats was, Jay Williams 0 for 6. Actually, no, the other Jay Williams 0 for
Yes.
6. The other Jay Williams 3 for 9. You know, Alexander, they get him a little rest, and I agree with that. But Randall 9 for 15. 24 points. Obviously, Daniels was good.
Seven
Reed was
guys for the
good.
Timberwolves in double figures. I mean, that's
Yeah,
incredible. You can't ask for
yeah.
better.
Reed 10 points, 8 rebounds off the bench. You just can't beat that. You're not going to do better than that. DiVincenzo still not getting enough shots of my money. He only plays 14 minutes, 16 minutes, plays well. Walker needs to play a little more, 5 for 9 off the bench. But that's their bench right there. And Mike Conley doesn't play enough. Still 2 for 8. I still think he needs to be on the floor more just to direct traffic. But Randall and Edwards really put out last night, and they had the two-headed monster. But at the same time, gotta pound these guys on the glass, and they did because Chet is still a good windstorm away from blowing away. So I mean, you got to go through his chest. They can't handle Randall's body. Most guys in this league can't. He was big coming out of college. Now he's a man. He's not a boy anymore.
Oh yeah,
So he
you just
is,
look at this
he's
guy.
not.
Just look at this guy's arms and biceps. This guy's a
Yeah.
bruiser.
So I mean, what he wants to do is hit you and then finish. The best thing you can hope for him when you're guarding him is just let him shoot without a hit. He likes to contact. He likes to roll off and finish.
He's built like a '90s power forward used to be.
Yep.
He's
Yep.
like that kind
And
of guy physically now.
so yeah. So what they got to do with him is just make him face up and hope that he takes the bait and shoots. But this Wolves game, they really, like I said, I hate to keep bringing it up, but they really used the high post first, that like sloughing zone, and none of the guys really on that bench. Caruso wasn't really a factor tonight. They
Oh,
tried,
no
but
one was. I mean, they looked like they drank a six pack before the game. All of
yeah,
them.
they just. I was really disappointed in the ease of which this game was. Live ball turnovers was sloppy as hell.
No, they just didn't show up.
So
They just didn't show up. That's basically all
yeah.
you got to chalk it up to.
So again, so it's a little scary because they've had games like that before, and it's just gets kind of scary. I know Minnesota's been sloppy. We've talked about that. Indiana had that really sloppy game versus Cleveland. The only team who's not really been sloppy has been the Knicks. They don't haven't gotten blown in any really game. Though the Celtics did get them once, I guess we could say. But they haven't been really sloppy. This game last night was I was so disappointed. I was so buckled up and ready to watch this game and
Yeah, you
see what
felt
kind of
disappointed.
response
Yeah, you
Minnesota
got
had.
robbed. You got robbed of a good experience.
And all I'm saying is if Minnesota is in a tight game in the third quarter, they're going to lose because OKC's playing with house money at that point. But the Pacers tonight, again, they had the same situation, and they just looked like a couple of guys didn't want to pull the trigger. All of a sudden, the offense wasn't flowing. Guys weren't aggressive. So this series is going to be great tomorrow night. I'm really looking forward to Game 4 because again, all important Game 4. We got to see whether we get a real series or we don't. So thing is, OKC, you want to make sure you take care of business tonight, tomorrow night too, because at the same time you're going home, but you don't want to leave it up to that, as we've seen in these playoffs, where sometimes on a home court you come out too geeked up and you get
Right,
off
you
to a
can't.
sluggish start.
You got to spot yourself one. I feel like for home. You know, what I mean, you can't feel like all right, well, because then the pressure's on you. Then you have to be perfect at home, defending your home floor, and you're still playing against an elite NBA teams. Yeah, if you have like a situation where it's one game for everything and you're on your home floor, you have to feel pretty good about that. But at the same time, a team at this point and this level, they're capable of winning on your floor. So you don't
Yeah.
want to just put all your eggs in that basket there. So if you're it's going to be very interesting to see the Thunder's focus level and intensity level. Obviously, you have to be better. I
Yeah.
mean, it's a wake up call. They just got totally demolished. I'm sure obviously it's going to be much sharper and much more focused in this next game. I think it was human nature that you saw just take over there, and they just thought, hey, we can just roll the ball out here and we'll take care of
Uh,
this game. But
The
the
only
tip
positive for them is that they got their guys out of there early and they got
exactly,
rested. It's got
yeah,
out of a 7 game series. That's a
yep.
positive. They got their guys out early, which is great. But at the same time, like Minnesota shot 50% from three. So you know what kind of night that's going to be when that happens. And OKC's
Obviously, you're
got a
banking on they're
response.
not going to do that, even if you're not playing great defense or you're not
Sure.
all there intensity wise. You're still relying on they're not going to make half their 3 point shots.
Sure. Well, Naz Reid has been pretty cold in the playoffs. I thought in game two, he really competed on the board. He made a conscious
Yeah, he was
effort to get
much more
inside.
physical inside and everything. Right,
Right.
exactly.
Right. He made a couple of efforts to get in there, but again, they just weren't making any shots. I think that we have to see what goes on here in
Yeah,
this
he's a guy
game.
who's
This is going
capable
to
of
be a really
making four
interesting
or
game.
five 3 point shots in a game. Though he's done that before. He's a guy who can get hot from the
Yeah.
corners, no doubt.
Definitely has the worst release in the league, though. Oh my God.
Yeah,
Whew.
like you said,
It is,
DiVincenzo, you got to find a way to maybe get him going more offensively because he's a guy. Remember last year for the Knicks, Uncle Dave, he was getting 30 some nights. So you want to have a guy
yeah,
like
because
that.
he has an endless motor. This some reason they haven't really plugged him in yet. And the kid Shannon off the bench from Illinois,
He was
he
fantastic.
really
He
made
was
a big
five of
difference
eight.
yesterday.
Yeah,
If
15.
I'm Finch, I make sure that I make sure I get him in there.
I
He made a
think
big difference.
with them, it's like you said, the others. It's when Alexander Walker or McDaniels, if they're hitting, that just makes them a different team because then Edwards attacking downhill. Once you have those
Yep.
guys making shots in the corners, then I think they're just a different animal. This
Well,
Timberwolves.
too, the other thing is, people talk about OKC in transition and they're great, but the Wolves with the right lineup on the floor in
Oh yeah, they
transition
can
are
be
are,
too as
are
well. Absolutely,
they're
yeah.
they're they're dangerous in a different way. And this kid Shannon gets downhill with Edwards. You got athletes flying around that you're just
Right.
not used to, and you get McDaniel flying around too. This is a really athletic team. OKC has really good guys in transition, but I don't know if they're as athletic with Lou Dort's a good player and all, but we're talking raw athletes just running down the floor here. When Edwards gets in the open, or if Shannon or these guys, yeah, Shannon in Illinois, I remember him well.
I think the
You know,
Thunder, they're death by a
tough.
thousand paper cuts. That's how they like to play. That's how they kind of wear a team down. But they don't have like none of their frontline guys are have a situation where they're athletic or as strong as Randall. Like you said, there's no
No.
physically they don't match up. And it's the same thing with Anthony Edwards. Anthony Edwards might be the most talented physical specimen on the floor.
Yeah. And that's the funny thing. That's where part of me is still so mad because the Denver GM didn't go out. So here's the thing where we could be looking at OKC in five and Denver, lost to him in seven. And again, if Denver went out, Denver I thought was severely outmanned. I thought they were severely outmanned in the Clipper series, and everybody's given Joker a lot of criticism, but just goes to show you how good he is with that flawed roster to beat the Clips, who I thought were better, and to then have a
Plus,
chance to beat
Porter and
OKC.
Gordon were banged up too. So I mean, you
Yeah,
factored that
Porter
in.
was awful. I
Yeah,
mean, Porter was terrible, and Russ the last 4 games didn't shoot well. But the thing is, like, it just goes to show you how actually good he is that they even
yes.
had a chance to do this. Or it shows you again how weak the West was. People talking about, West is better. Yeah, West has been traditionally better the last 15 years, but I don't know. Right now, I feel that tide is turning. I feel like the East is the more competitive conference right now, and
I think so too.
just the Grizzlies are incomplete. There's obviously he's lost his marbles running the point guard over there. Lakers are not the Lakers; they're just the Lakers on paper now. That are Hollywood fakers, basically. So I don't know. I mean, the Suns suck. The Wolves and the Warriors were wounded. I mean, Joker has no bench. So like who's? I mean, the Clippers were really the most talented team, and they didn't get it done.
I'm
No
not
shock.
surprised that these two teams actually are in the
Me
Western
neither.
Conference final, though. Really, they're not. I mean, the Timberwolves this year were a team that they underachieved in
They
the
got
regular
hot.
season because they has had so much of a change with the Towns trade and then bringing in Randall and DiVincenzo. But I mean, they're
They got
clicking.
hot.
Yeah, exactly right. They're clicking now on all cylinders. There's no doubt.
OKC's been consistent. They were like
All year.
Cleveland this year, very consistent. But at the same time, like OKC, I feel is here. I think that the Wolves and the Warriors. I think the Wolves are here because Steph got hurt. I'm happy the Wolves are here, because I'm tired of watching the Warriors and shooting threes and flopping all over the place. But at the same time, I still feel like OKC should come out of this 4-1.
I think so as well. I think what the Thunder really have an advantage on is everyone is an all-star in their role. Every guy knows what they need to do and what's expected of them. You can tell they're just well
Yeah.
coached and the guys on this team are serious men. There's not any
Right.
drama or
And the good news is they've been punched in the face in game three versus Denver. They got down 2-1.
yes. You
They got
reminded
punched in
yourself
the
of that
face
feeling now. Yep.
because, they lost a close game, but they still got punched in the face by saying, oh my God, now all the pressure's on us and all this big record can mean nothing. Whereas Cleveland did not respond. Cleveland had injuries, but still, when you get punched in the face, when you are the favorite and you're supposed to win, it's a different animal. I've been on both sides of it. Being that favorite, it's very difficult.
If I'm Coach Degenol, I just show the rebound stat. Hey guys, they had 50 rebounds, we had 31. That's what I
Yeah,
show them.
sure.
And say we
And
got to
that's
bring
where
the right amount of intensity and energy here. Otherwise,
absolutely,
pointless.
and that's where Chet and Hartenstein, have got to get on the
That's
board.
what
They
you
got
said even
11.
before this series. You said physical. I mean, this is kind of the way the Timberwolves played in this game is how they have to play to win. You
Sure.
pointed that out. You're like, hey, the front line here, the front
Yep.
court, they have to play that way in order for them to win. In the first two games, they weren't nearly like that how they were in game three.
Sure. And
Anything.
Shea's got to get his 5 rebounds. Lou Dort's got to get 5. Jalen Williams has got to get 5, and the other two guys got to get 10.
Yeah,
And then you
they
can
and they
live with that.
normally do that. That's the thing. In this game, they just didn't.
Caruso's got to get you 5 also, and that's how you survive in these situations. You gotta get these other guys to get out there and help you out. But you know, that's what you're gonna have to do. You got Wiggins, you got Wallace, some of those. You got to get some guys with a couple of boards. You got to gang rebound. But the thing is, that is a problem that's not going to go away for them or the Pacers. My thing is, if the Pacers and OKC made the finals, that'd be the worst rebounding finals I've ever seen in my life. I've only been watching since '77, but I'll
You
tell you right
can
now,
do it as a collective. It's just a lot harder to
right?
do it.
It is.
That
I
way
mean,
day in and
it's
day out.
just.
It's
I
nice
mean,
to have a
every
guy that's an eraser like Kareem or Shaquille O'Neal. You have
right.
a guy who can clean up the board.
I
That's
mean, Mitchell Robinson keeps every ball alive. I
Well,
mean,
that's the
the
thing.
Pacers.
The guys who also tap the ball out too for an extra possession, that is huge right there. And like you
Yep.
said, the Thunder really aren't that they're not wired that way. They don't have the guys for that. Holmgren and Hartenstein are nice players. Not saying that, but to have that guy who's just the cleanup guy, that just is a huge advantage for you.
Yeah, but you know what though, Chet? It's time for Chet to step up. I know his first year, he missed the whole first year, so
Yeah, you're
technically
kind of
this
waiting
is
for him to take the next leap, right?
it's time
What kind of
it's
player is
time to
yeah.
it's time to not just be a lob catcher. You're the first pick in the draft. You're not Clint Capella. You're not Rudy Gobert. It's time for him to become the Chet that everybody keeps waiting for. I mean, everybody loves the kid. He seems like a great kid. Seems to be working hard, but it's time now. He's got to step his game up a little bit here. I know, that game was a blowout, so everybody had crap numbers. We understand that, but it's time to be more than a lob catcher. It's time for him to make a couple of plays for himself or his
Yeah,
teammate off the bench because
I
he's
agree with
capable.
you. I think it's time to cape up next to Alexander and Williams and say, hey, we got this here, and
Yeah,
we're just going to take it to the
yeah,
next level. I mean, right
absolutely.
now everything's lined up perfectly for you. You have an elite point guard, you have a great
Yep,
wing. You're the last
yep,
missing piece, I think, to come along here and take this thing to the
yeah,
next level.
yeah. You're right. Well, that's the thing. It's funny though. I noticed this crazy, but AJ Mitchell actually plays well yesterday. Now I know they're already playing 10, 11 guys, but he actually played. He's the only guy that played
Six
well
of 11, he had
yesterday.
14. Yeah.
Do you? I mean, I guess you don't need him, but at the same time, like when
If you're
things
Coach
like
Dignall,
this,
you definitely take note of that, and maybe you
right?
play that for Game 4 here.
Well, look at Rick Carlisle. He's gone with Bradley because the big kid from Indiana wasn't producing, so he's gone with Bradley. But Bradley, I don't think is ready yet defensively. I know he can block a shot, but when he's trying to cover Karl Anthony Towns with foot speed, go side to side, he's not ready. So I don't think he's the guy for that situation. But I think when the Pacers, I mean, surely Rick Carlisle knows his roster better than I do. But when the Pacers go with Bryant, I feel like he moves laterally better. Uh, Bradley is a gigantic body. I know that. But like I said, I just not confident in basically Bradley's body moving side to side. I don't see it.
And for that game, Thomas Bryant didn't even play tonight.
Right. He didn't play tonight. The other night he didn't really play a lot either. So, I know he's probably in the doghouse, but he does have a little better foot speed
Yes.
than Bradley side to side. Now Bradley is a bigger body, and but Bryant can block a shot. He is very strong. But the thing is, like I said, these series, it's always those new guys, and that's what I do like about the Pacers. Every night it's a different guy. But again, as much as the Pacers are up 2-1, they can be down 3-0. The Knicks, could easily been could be down 3-0 also if they don't come back tonight. But then again, you really got to look around. One thing we can say for sure is the Knicks really blew that first game. So really it should be a
Could be
2-1, but it
2-1.
probably should be a
Could be
2-1
two.
Knicks.
Could be 2-1. And you could have won game two. You could have
Yeah,
won.
and we've talked about this. When you have a historic lead blowing, you very rarely win the series, and that game's going to come back to bite you in the ass.
Right.
And even if you lose 4 games to 2 or something along those lines, that game would have turned the whole series
Well,
because it
honestly,
just puts a
both
different amount of
teams
pressure.
are in that same boat now because if you're the Pacers and you lose this series, you're going to be saying game three, we should have had them there and we should have been up 3-0 and it should have been it.
Yeah, well, this Nick team has now again showed you that they're going to come back from 20. So you got to keep your foot on the
Yeah, they've done
pedal.
it three times now in the playoffs. So and all on the road, by the way.
It's so hard to coach these
Crazy
games though,
that.
because when you play this many guys, you got to constantly be rolling the dice and get it right. And that's what makes it really hard.
Right.
People who don't coach don't understand
It's a
that. When you
fine
play a
line, a
lot of
lot of gray
guys,
area. Like you said,
yeah,
if you over sub, do you not sub enough? You can go crazy thinking
right.
overthinking
Yeah,
it.
when you play a lot of guys, and some years I have, when you play a lot of guys, it makes it twice as hard. You got to be really sharp on your game. And it's always a work in progress. Like I said, tonight Poppin just didn't play enough. I thought they waited a little too long with Halliburton, but that's their thing.
Yeah, man. Wow. I mean, I like you said, I think it was with the Knicks rolling the dice and playing guys that haven't played basically the whole playoff. I mean, DeLon Wright and Landry Shamet have not played at all. So to put
Right.
them out there for 10 plus minutes, both of them tonight
Yeah.
was a huge gamble. But
Yeah.
Landry Shamet, though, I mean, he drew a charge. DeLon Wright had a
Two
steal.
assists.
Yeah, and DeLon Wright made the only shot he took, and Landry Shamet went 1 of 2.
They
So
had
I
three
mean,
assists between the two of them.
yeah, exactly. I mean, it was you had a net positive from them in a great way between the two of them, and I think now with that being said, you have to kind of play them again in game four, right? You can't just
Yeah.
now go back
Yeah.
to what you were doing before in the two games that you did lost, even though they were close and down to the wire. I think you have to now play these two. It definitely
Well,
was something that was talked about for sure that you had to extend your bench, I think, a little bit here. So it's going to be
well,
interesting to
Shaman had
see.
more assists than Jalen Brunson.
Right. There were times where even Reggie Miller was saying, Brunson, man, he's been on the bench for for seems like a while. It's funny because Brunson he plays almost the whole game, so the fact that he only played 30 minutes tonight, you felt like he wasn't playing at all compared to
Right.
some nights where he's out there. It seems like the whole damn game.
Yeah. So I mean, I think they got to commit to giving him like a 40-minute night. That way he gets his 8 minutes to chill.
Yeah,
I don't see a problem with that. Like let him have a couple of minutes. I don't see the issue there. Like let this guy have a couple of minutes. I think it could work. Especially with the ball pressure, the Pacers didn't really pick up full tonight. Then again, Brunson was in foul trouble, but again, they left him there longer than the foul trouble dictated because he wasn't playing great.
the other thing with the
And
Knicks that's scary. It
and
seems
Deuce
like
played well.
every night Brunson and Towns are in foul trouble. Every night it seems like.
Well, we talked about this for the series. Neither of them can guard.
Yes,
We
they're gonna
talked about
foul
this
then.
matchup, but
Yep.
nobody's gotten Halliburton in foul trouble, and I'm still waiting for that one
Yes.
because got to get through Halliburton's chest. And again, he is covering, basically he's covering the stud from Villanova there. He's not covering Hart. He's covering Bridges. And the thing is, Bridges is not attacking him and getting him in foul trouble. And he's very long, but he's very thin through the chest. He's the weakest guy on the court. You got to get him in foul trouble, but they're not going after him. It's weird. And then Jalen Brunson, he's covering Nemhart, he's covering Nesmith, but at the same time, he's not a good defender. He's not a good defender in ISO. He's not Bill. They could take him to the post, but they're not doing that. So
Yeah, he's a
Carl
guy.
Anthony Towns is having trouble because Carl Anthony Towns sometimes gets cross matched on Siakam, and Siakam's too quick for him. But at the
Right.
same time,
Or
then
he's
Towns is
rotating to block a shot and he
right.
fouls a guy. Or sometimes he does make a boneheaded play where he tries to grab a guy
Sure,
90 feet from the basket, tries
sure,
to rip a guy or something like that. Yeah.
sure, sure. He does. Yeah,
I think it's really going to be interesting. I mean, both these next games here, boy, these game fours both on both ends are going to be incredible to watch.
yeah,
The
yeah. I
Thunder's
agree.
intensity tomorrow night, that's something I got to keep an eye on with that. I mean, I
Sure.
just can't wait to see how they come out. And obviously, the Timberwolves know they have to match whatever the Thunder, because if you're Coach Finch, you're going to be saying, hey, this game four is going to be a lot different on the other side than this game three. We just have to basically throw that one into the scrap heap here. And it's
Yeah.
funny because if you're the Thunder and you're Coach Daganol, I mean, the tape, you really just got to burn that thing. There's nothing you can do with that even.
No, you just want to show them the rebounds, maybe try a little
No,
motivational
exactly.
talk.
I think you have to just kind of shame these guys and challenge their manhood, right?
Yeah, talk about what to do with the high post when Randall gets there, but maybe see what's happening in that direction and see if you can, see if you can get something out of them as far as, something positive out of that tape, which really you're probably not going to get much positive out of there.
It's incredible though how serious. I mean, this it's really like talked about earlier in the show, a yin and yang kind of effect. And the Thunder and the Timberwolves here, it's all been blowouts, and the Pacers next, it's coming down to the last second every game.
Yeah, well, I think what that's telling us is eventually you're going to get a close game in this other series, and whoever wins that one obviously is going to have a huge leg up. And
And all three teams on the road
yeah,
have won, and versus the Thunder and Timberwolves, all three home teams have won. So
yes,
really, really different.
yeah, it is. It's kind of crazy. So, but again, like someone's going to get a close game in this other series, and maybe it'll make it a series, or it'll be the difference between it being a short series. I'm expecting that closer game tomorrow night. But who knows at this point? I'll tell you, we just don't know what we're going to get.
These game fours where it can either go 3-1 or 2-2. I mean, talk about night and day.
Oh
And
God, yeah,
I mean, my God, I mean, if you figure if the really the pressure on the Pacers now, you can't. If you drop now game four, now you're going back to the Garden. I feel like there's no way the Knicks are going to feel like, hey, we're letting them win again at Madison Square Garden after we gave them to. So if you're the Pacers, you better
yeah.
have all hands on deck here. And the Aaron Nesmith the ankle injury, you got to see now because it's a quick turnaround with these playoff games now. So now they play.
Yeah, they're all every other day.
Yeah, exactly. So you played Wednesday night, right? So you're gonna have to now see. Obviously, I'm sure he'll be
Yeah,
shocked.
what did Neesmith do in game two? I mean, we know he was great in game one, but in
Yeah,
game two, he was probably pretty good also. What did he do in game two? I know he had a pretty good game.
yeah, he wasn't 30. I think he had like 19 or 20. Let me see. He's been solid in all the games. Now, obviously,
Yeah,
tonight's a
exactly.
different story because he,
Very good defender too. See the body on that guy; it's crazy.
yeah, no, he's Charles Barkley even said he's like you have to be in excellent shape to do what you to do what you're doing here because he's rotating on Brunson, but he's also scoring effectively. So
Sure,
it's
sure.
he's a guy who does it all basically. And
Yeah, so he's a stud.
he well actually yeah, so he in game two he was 4 of 7 with 12 points. Didn't shoot a lot, but the shots he shot he made.
Right. Yeah, so he's an effective player. So we got to see what he does. But again, you know, it's just going to be a who steps up. I mean, tonight, the Nick bench really stepped up, and
But if you're the
and
Knicks
sometimes,
though, if you're the Knicks, you're feeling, hey, all right, game one, Aaron Nesmith has his career playoff high. And then, oh no, his career high actually, not. And then Pascal Siakam in game two has his playoff career high. So you had two nights where guys had record-setting nights. If you're the Knicks, you're like, all right, well, game four, they're probably not going to have that again. So we'll feel good about our chances winning this game four now. Because in order the two wins the Pacers had against them, it was historic nights.
like I talk about, there's always the flip flops in these games, and so these games you just don't know because we both sides can make an argument. So the Pacers are winning the game; they only shot 20% from three. So
Right. So
it
if you're
seems
Rick Carlisle and you're the Pacers, you're thinking, hey, we should have won this game easily too. We gave this away. We didn't
yeah.
shoot the line.
Well, look at the
Won and
Celtics. The
lost.
Celtics were shooting 25% and we're up 20. These guys were shooting 20%, which is even worse in
Hmm.
a 20. So, I mean, you have a situation here where both teams can, lay claim to that.
Yeah, no matter what, if it's close and you lost, you feel like there's plays obviously on both teams. There's plays on the floor
Sure.
where it should have been either a bigger lead or we should have won the game.
Sure. Both teams can lay claim to it. And the stat sheet, usually when you look at a stat sheet, as a coach, you can tell. Sometimes the stat sheet doesn't tell you, but this one, that stat sheet's clearly on that 3-point line. That's what it tells you. One team made 18 more points on the 3-point line than the other.
So what's the thing, Uncle Dave, to look for? You think in this Timberwolves and Thunder game we have tomorrow night?
Oh, I just want to see if they could cut down those live ball turnovers. They can't let
Yeah,
Minnesota. I mean, they weren't even really.
no,
I mean, they blitzed the ball screen is what they did. They blitzed the ball screen. They biggied it, whatever you want to call it. Gobert showed really aggressively one time and got a deflection. Edwards showed one time and blitzed it. Both times the dribbler wound up on the floor, but they weren't calling it because it was minimal contact. It was just awkward contact that put the dribbler on the floor. But they blitzed that ball screen. They got aggressive. They got their hands up. They pushed through it. They didn't do drop coverage on a couple of really high ball screens, which was weird because when you set the ball screen as high as they set it, usually you do go under. But this time they blitzed it and they were very aggressive. So obviously, we'll have to see how they handle these ball screens tomorrow night because usually SGA gets downhill and this is when he does his cooking. So, again, we'll see if Minnesota plays those ball screens as aggressively, and we'll see what OKC does with that adjustment of Randall playing a little closer to the basket. We'll see how they handle it.
I think what you've talked about as well is important. How much zone is going to be sprinkled in as well tomorrow
The
night?
OKC's been playing a ton.
Yeah. How we, like you said, now the Timberwolves, maybe they have figured something out there, maybe with some high-low action here to kind of.
Well, yeah, but what you need to do is you don't need to put Edwards up top. Put Edwards in the corner. So when Randall catches on the
Yeah,
elbow,
don't have him exactly. Also, it gets him off a double team too. It gives him a different look. So, but
right. Although Edwards played a great game last night, that's probably his best game as a pro in my book. I know he's had games where he's probably scored 50. He passed the ball a lot. He played great defense, and
oh yeah,
he
he still had
shot
a
the
great
ball well.
scoring night. He had 30, so he was
Yeah, so to me, he did a
he was
great
doing
job, but
everything.
he didn't. He let the game flow. He didn't force it. So if you want to put him in that opposite corner and let Randall be at the high post, I still think Mike
I
Conley needs a couple more minutes.
My thing with Anthony Edwards is it's not about whether he's shooting it or passing it. I just want him going downhill 75% of the time. I want him
Yeah,
coming
be
off the
aggressive.
screen. I want him going to the basket. Now, obviously, he's decision because he could. This is the other thing too. You give him a 1-2 step, he can dunk it on you. Doesn't matter
Oh
if it's
yeah.
7 foot or not. So he's just a crazy athlete too. I feel
But
like we're
also
playing
he's creating help too. So whoever he kicks it to is gonna bury it.
Well, that's the thing. If you're a guy like Alexander, Walker, and if you're McDaniels and DiVincenzo, you know you're going to get shots. This guy, you just have to be ready.
Oh yeah.
Kickouts, Nas Reed as
Yeah.
well.
No, no, yeah, you got to make a shot, and DiVincenzo's got to make a shot, and you got to get these guys opportunities to make
Yeah,
a
he's
shot.
not, and he's not a bad passer, Edwards. When he does, I
No,
think
he's not.
decide to
He's a good
facilitate.
player. He's last night he showed the complete package, and he changed that game defensively. Two steals at midcourt, and ran him down and just flushed it. So very impressive with him. So he really set the tone last night. So you got to give him credit. He showed himself to be a real force in the league. Obviously, he's still young. He's only 23 years old, I believe. So they got to see what else they can get out of him tomorrow night.
It's going to be like these game fours though, where it's 2-1. We're going to have a really interesting next show for sure because we're either going to be talking about 2-2 or 3-1. And when it's
Sure,
3-1, we're talking about the few teams that have come back to do it. And if it's 2-2, then you're just getting started. Then it's a best of three at that point.
sure, sure. Yeah, it's exciting stuff. It really is. It's gonna be fun to see if where we're at, 3-1 or 2-2. Big difference. It
And
should be fun. I think that we're gonna be at. I think I think the Nick game. That's a total toss up because we got to see how Neesmith is. But I think OKC is gonna be up 3-1. I would bet.
yeah, my prediction is I think both will go up 3-1. I think that's we'll be on the record right now for that. But I will say
Yeah,
both will go 3-1.
this Nick series is so unpredictable. I just don't know
Oh,
what
it
to think
is.
anymore.
It is. I mean, honestly, the Pacers go up 3-1 and lose the damn thing. I mean, it just feels
They
like
could.
it's that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
I mean, all these games have been so close. The margin of error in that series is just incredible. I mean, the games have literally come down to the last 20 seconds in both games where it's a one or a two
Oh
score
yeah.
game. So
Yeah. Absolutely.
it's incredible. I mean, I don't know what the series for the regular season was between those two teams, but my God, I mean, you can't even it's just a razor's edge the
Yeah.
closest in these games. My God. But I
Yeah.
think what you said, Aaron Nesmith, you got to keep an eye on that ankle injury right there. It doesn't look. I think it'll be all right, but you
Yeah.
never know with these things. Obviously, pregame will be tuned into listening on what's diagnosis on
Sure.
that one because I think if
Sure.
he's not 100%, that definitely could flip the script a tad as
Well,
well.
I know when he comes back in, everybody sees a sigh of relief, but that's because he probably kept moving in the locker room. Tomorrow's going to be the harder day,
Yes,
and then we'll see if he can get it loose. On Tuesday. That'll be the case. See how loose he can
yeah,
get.
shoot around and
It's
everything.
uh, it's the side to side motion and the elevation because he is a physical specimen. So it's not like we're talking about a guy who isn't a physical specimen. It's not like we're talking about Mike Conley's ankle hurts. We're talking about a guy who relies on athleticism. Matter of fact, when he got back in the game in the fourth quarter, he missed a bunny around the net and didn't get up as high as he usually does. So
I think
obviously,
the
it's
things
a it's a big difference.
What you said, Obi Toppin's got to play more than 14 minutes. I think
Yeah, Obi
that
did some
stood out.
good things tonight.
That stood out to me. And Nemhard, I expect to play better. than two of
Yeah,
nine.
if if we need some minutes to play in the post, I'm sorry, I gotta put Toppin out there. And I gotta tell him you gotta toughen up, guy, or else I'm gonna have to sit you some more. So
He's
either
more
you come in
athletic
there
and a
and you
better
get
defender,
physical.
I think, than Bradley too. So I
Yeah.
like him from that standpoint.
Either you get in there and you get physical for us and help us on the board, or else I gotta go. I'm gonna have to go to Bradley again. So Toppin's capable of doing that. He is 6'9" for Christ's sake. I mean, so they'll tell him to get in there. He can move his feet. He's a better matchup
What
for
stood out
Cat.
for me in this game too is too many times. I mean, obviously, I'm going to give the Knicks some credit on this, where the Pacers defensively, I mean, offensively, on half court sets, were getting rushed shots. With the shot clock winding down there,
Yeah.
you can't have shot clock violations or close to it. I think when you have those kind of possessions right there, they're almost a turnover in itself.
Yeah. Well,
You have
long
to,
shot equals long rebounds today, and
yeah.
the Knicks didn't get a lot in transition, but like I said, but I think the Knicks did control the tempo much better in the second
Second half,
half.
they did. Absolutely, they did. The
But
Pacers had
also
everything
let's
they
let's
wanted
be
in the
honest,
first half.
the Knicks got great shots in the first half. They just didn't hit them. They had a couple of really good looks, and they were shooting about 33% in the first half.
Kenny Smith
Uh,
brought up a great point too. It was an 18-point game right before half, and the Knicks had a little 5-0 run to get
yep,
it down to 13. That's huge, I think,
yep,
when you have those little runs
yeah.
that
You
you
have positivity.
yep,
They
you
hit a
increase
corner
your lead and you
three.
cut it down. Yep.
Yeah, Bridges hit a corner three right before the half. Nobi hit a couple, and then Bridges hit a three with about 25 seconds left. I want to say before the half, and that cut it to 13, and that makes a difference.
Yep, absolutely does. Cannot wait to see what happens tomorrow night with this
Yeah, should be fun. Looking
game.
forward to it.
Yep. But we'll wrap it up there, Uncle Dave. We'll close it out with that as well. All right.
Sounds good.
Everybody, live long and prosper. May the force be with you. Till next time. Happy Memorial Day weekend, everybody.